It's the nicest gold I've seen in years. We are getting closer to our goal of 2,000 ounces with this. Shawn Pomrenke pulled off an amazing $5.4 million gold haul in a single crazy season, going from almost bankrupt to a multi-millionaire prize. But you won't believe the crazy life-threatening risks he took in the Arctic ice or what some angry fans say about how he always did things that caused a lot of trouble. Let's find out how Mr. Gold turned ice into millions of dollars and why his story is as controversial as it is golden. The day Shawn had to face the fear of losing all his money. On the Christine Rose, the air was thick with stress. It's not just the salty spray of the Bering Sea. They called Shawn Pomrenke Mr. Gold was looking down the barrel of losing all of his money. His business was losing money. It was hard on him because of a $1.3 million problem. It seemed like every broken piece of gear, failed dive, and empty slam box was another thing that put an end to his mining season. A lot of TV fans wonder if the stress is really that high for drama. But for workers like Shawn, the fear of losing everything is a very real thing that they live with every day. There had to be a miracle right away. The Christine Rose, his boat was getting old and creaking from the pressure. The constant dance with risk in the murky cold water off of Nome, Alaska, had worn his team out and tense. It would be hard for one diver to breathe through a foggy mask. Another person would make a bad move that almost made the boat tip over. I won't let myself lose again because I don't like it. The season is ending soon. We're on good gold. I am going to dig all day and night if that is what it takes. There was so much mud at the bottom of the sea that it was hard to see. It was a messy, risky, and annoying way to make a living. A lot of people were arguing on web forums about whether the prize is ever really worth the risk. What Shawn did have, though, was a sixth sense that he had developed over years of pulling metal claws over miles of empty seabed. It was in his gut. Down there was gold. There is a rich mine buried under the stinky dark muck. It was hidden from him, not able to prove it. But he kept going back to the same spot on the ocean floor because of that feeling, that miner's hunch. Because of this, some of his fans call him a real gold whisperer, while doubters say it's more likely due to stubbornness or just plain luck after many failed tries. Then it took place. When his excavator's bucket went deep, it hit something different, something heavy, not just rocks and mud. Everyone stopped when the first load hit the sleeve box. It wasn't just flakes or dust. There was real gold stuck to the clay, like it was put there just for him. One piece taken from the first test was worth a lot of money. That was the kind of find that could turn a bad season into a jackpot right away. Starting a new mining business costs a lot of money, and doing it right costs even more. Working with family is also hard. Even though everyone was excited, Shawn, who always acts calm in front of the cameras, just nodded. Some people see this as him being a real leader because he kept his cool under pressure. A lot of people think that Mr. Gold is just acting because he always plays a part for the show and only shows anger. The excavator worked too hard. The steel box that was meant to hold the heavy gold was getting full faster than they could empty it. Every minute that the divers spent on the dangerous bottom and every extra load that Christine Rose had to carry raised the risk of an accident or breakdown. But with that huge bill hanging over their heads, they couldn't stop. They had to go all in again. The better the pay dirt got as they dug deeper, they began to pull up big rocks, boulders that most likely had never been touched by another dredge. That kind of ground screams heavy gold when it's close by. It's brand new clay. With each scoop, more proof came out of the bucket. It wasn't a fluke. This was the place. While his team worked hard to keep the rusty Christine Rose from breaking, Shawn was locked in and going crazy. He had found an amazing source of wealth that would allow him to pay off his bills, save his fleet, and shut up the doubters. It was pushed to its very limits on the Christine Rose. The huge amount of pressure was making the old gear groan and creak. What happens when you believe in your tools, your gut, and your years of experience? But it wouldn't give up, just like its captain. When they finally did a good clean-out from that epic first day, it was clear that the gold was heavy, almost 10 ounces, which was a record for them at the time. One who hunts. You can buy more than just gas and parts with that kind of space. It gives you room to breathe. You'll get respect for it. It tells all the other dredges on the water what to do. No one was relaxing, though. It was only the beginning. The Bering Sea changes its mind often. It gives and takes away even more quickly. They kept digging through rock and mud even when the weather got worse and they were tired because of their early success and maybe a little of what some fans call pure Pomrenke stubbornness. They kept going because of adrenaline or maybe just the way the gold sparkled. Shawn knew that luck like this didn't last long. The hydraulic line broke, the suction hose got stuck, and a wave went off course. Anything small could quickly end their lucky run. They fixed the Christine Rose on the spot, switched out the tired divers, and then put the arm of the digger back into the hole. There were no brakes or fears. More was always being chased, about 500 yards from where we began this morning. The sand came up and hit our good spot. That's why we had to get off of it. Let's get this sand out of the way and start on the cobblestones. Every time he went by, he could feel the weight in the bucket. It was no longer luck. This was the reward for years of hard work, sweat, and risking everything on the idea that the ocean hadn't dried up. That belief turned into heavy, beautiful gold for a wonderful time. Enough to really start reducing his huge debt. That was enough to keep the repo man from taking his stuff. It was enough to make everyone remember why they called him Mr. Gold. Every time the Christine Rose went out, it struck gold, and Shawn did nothing but look at each new pile, nod, and dig even deeper. Shawn Pomrenke couldn't resist the call of $1 million week, even if it meant sailing right into the mouth of a sand monster. The hunt for gold was a demanding boss. $1 million waves and graves made of sand. Another great day of digging came after the first one. That original 10 record was just an appetizer. The pay streak they'd hit didn't just continue. It got richer, crazier. It was like the earth itself had been waiting for someone with Shawn Pomrenke's particular brand of reckless drive to come along and rip it open. The mud kept piling up on the deck of the Christine Rose, and the gold kept showing up in the swell, heavy and bright. People often disagree on whether Shawn's aggressive digging methods are smart or too dangerous. Some fans point out that he pushes his crew and tools harder than anyone else in the fleet. That amazing patch caused the gold count to start going up at an amazing rate. 10 ounces turned into 20, then 40. When the team saw that they had reached 100 from only a short time of dredging, their jaws dropped. As they added up all the points for that amazing run, they were looking at 103.0 of sparkling Alaskan gold. That was more than $150,000 worth of work in 1 hour, which is a crazy amount of time. Shawn said that this was just the start. It seemed like the Christine Rose was swimming in gold, but other crews, like Ken Kerr's on the huge Myrtle Irene, were fighting their own problems. One of the Myrtle Irene's 55,000-pound spuds, which are big metal legs that hold it to the bottom, got stuck in the mud. The barge is huge and looking for work. Trouble was dangerous and expensive. The ocean floor wouldn't give way, no matter how hard they tried. A crane was even brought in to help. The slouch box, the production machine, the generators, and the pumps. It's like start over with a new Mr. A. Storm was building the whole time. Finally, with a last-ditch full-power heave that might have broken their gear, the spud came loose. But their cleanup was a painful 24 os. This was barely enough to cover fuel for a business of that size. The big difference made Shawn's success look even more legendary, though some fans say that the show edits these similarities to make them more dramatic and make some captains look like heroes while others look like they're having a hard time. The Bering Sea then showed Shawn who was in charge, just when it looked like he couldn't do any wrong. His $1 million pay dirt, his sweet gold spot, was buried. A thick, stubborn sandbar had moved in overnight because of changing tides and currents. It was now sitting right on top of his honey hole. The sand had thrown a temper fit. The simple gold was gone because it was buried under thick, wet sand. A lot of mines would have given up and moved on, but Shawn Pomrenke didn't. Some of his friends say that his refusal to give up is his biggest strength. Others see it as a flaw because he won't listen to reason, which costs him a lot of times. He made war with that beach. It was ripped apart by the Christine Rose. The arm of the excavator kept moving back and forth. It looked like bucket after bucket of useless sand was being thrown overboard. He was checking, panning, and reading the water to look for any sign of that sparkle. It took hours of hard, stressful work that wasted valuable time and expensive fuel. But finally, the rock came back from under all that sand. The rough, chunky rock where the gold is found deep stays put a lot. Not for long did those lovely gold flakes start to appear in the pans once more. Not just flakes, it was gold with a body. Even though the water from the skimmer was cloudy, the gold still shone. Gold that was heavy enough to feel good in your hand. There was more happy music from the wash plant on the Christine Rose this time. The scales read an amazing 120 ounces when they did the next cleanout. Another huge hit. Another huge pile of cash. Shawn wasn't just getting by anymore. Fans loved his rough style, and he was breaking records, which made him very happy. There it is. That's it. Pay attention to that plant. It's time to put gold in the box. Online reviewers probably said that moving so much seabed was bad for the environment, but the season was full of high-stakes bets. The crew of the Myrtle Irene, led by Vernon Atkinson, was fixing up their dredge as they desperately tried to catch up. But time doesn't wait for anyone in the wild sea. Gold was running out in old sites. It was hard to find new ones, or they were too deep. There was a lot of pressure. Some teams were following rumors about a place called Gold Bottom Creek. The name came from the days of prospecting, when people thought they could get rich with just shovels and luck. Others were just trying to stay in business by fixing up old machines and hoping for one big hit to keep the creditors away. But Shawn Pomrenke and the Christine Rose could not stop the surge. With each successful dig, he chipped away at the $1.3 million bill that had been hanging over him like a shadow.
He was getting closer to his goal of fully owning his business and making all the decisions without having loans and middlemen watch over him. Alaska's cold gray skies let gold fever burn hotter and in different ways in every miner. Some people are willing to risk everything for a few shiny ounces. For some, it's just another day at work. The way dirt feels under their nails. The welcome roar of the wash machine when it finally finds gold. For Shawn, it was always about him. It wasn't just about money. It may have been mostly for himself to show that he could still lead, dig deeper and trick the sea, which had tried to break him so many times. The Christine Rose was not just a machine. It showed how stubborn he was, how ambitious he was, and how much he had to lose. Its wash plant wasn't just cleaning up dirt when it came to life, it was the engine of a mission. Not only did Shawn Pomrenke's amazing goal streak on the Christine Rose turn heads, it changed the course of his whole season. We're getting close to the big chunky gold now that I've seen the right stuff. We need to focus on that dessert now. What started as a story about a story that was about to fall apart turned into one of the most amazing comebacks in the history of Bering Sea gold. The huge excavator dredge, which had been battered by waves and worn out by use, had become a warrior under Shara's constant leadership. But anyone who has done no mining before knows that the summer is only half the fight. It's the real test, when the ocean freezes over and the gold is sealed inside a glassy, frozen tomb. This is when fortunes are made and memories are made. That's where Mr. Gold really lives up to his name. Because of how the show is set up, the year is usually split into two separate high-stakes seasons. Summer is for open water dredging, and winter is for mine under the ice. If summer is a game of speed and weather windows, then winter is a slow-motion horror show that takes place under feet of ice. Sometimes the ice was more than 4 feet thick, but divers cut holes through it and then slipped into the black void below. With a suction hose in one hand and their sanity in the other, they crawl across the sea bottom where they can't see much. The only thing connecting them to life above is hope and the hose. One fact that many people don't know, it's very hard on these divers' bodies. They have to deal with weather, broken gear and mental stress that they haven't been fully trained for. There is almost no room for mistake. Still, some people, like Shawn, think it's worth the risk. It got cooler in Nome as Christine Rose played record stores in the last few weeks of summer. The time was running out, it was going to freeze up, and the change to digging under the ice, a place where only the brave or desperate dare to go. Forums were full of people talking. Fans praised Shawn's refusal to give up, his surgical accuracy in finding shady spots, and his ability to keep morale high even when things were terrible. Others thought he was careless, and said he ran his crew and gear into the ground for ounces. That split praise and criticism are all important parts of the Mr. Myths about gold. But it takes more than charm and camera time to get 5.4 million people to watch an entire season. That takes planning, guts and a strong willingness to take risks. That's work. The kind that hurts. Shawn's operations change, while some teams shut down in the summer. In the past he worked under the ice with mobile suction dredges on skids, which are small maneuverable tools made for holes in the ice that are only a little wider than a manhole cover. He goes after places that have already been found by GPS logs, sonar data, or more often his gut feeling and years of experience. Rose may take a break when the water freezes, but Shawn doesn't. Picture the scene. The wind is roaring across the empty ice shelf. Shawn was bent over a hot drill that was cutting a hole through the solid sea. Only the LEDs on the divers' helmets shine through the murky silt, and they go down one at a time. The box above rumbles and spews out steam and slime. Each crackle on the radio is a matter of life and death. A good flow means money. If you can't see, bad things could happen. And in the middle of it all, Shawn was in charge, reading every sign and counting every ounce. Now we need to try to find a better spot around here where it's concentrated. Have fun. This is where Shawn's brilliance really shines. People often don't notice how well he can read the seafloor, even though he's known for his flashy confidence and strong drive. He doesn't just guess where the gold is, he can feel it. He has a sixth sense for where to dig because of this feeling, along with years of learning about the rocks in the area and exploring them underwater. That's why Shawn keeps mining even when it's early freeze and the ice is unstable, the equipment isn't dependable, and the risk is high. He knows it's there. Some people say he is trying too hard. They show video of team members complaining that their equipment has been broken 5 times in a week. They say that work sometimes comes before safety, but supporters say that's just how no mining works. It doesn't matter how tired you are to the ocean. It doesn't matter how careful you are on the ice. The gold also doesn't wait for everything to be just right. You can either go all in or lose everything and go home broke. You should also think about the society. Nome is more than just a place. It is a person. The people who live there, their lifestyle, and the idea that it's like the Wild West today all affect the show's pace. And Shawn brings that weight as one of the most well-known people who lives there. He has made and taken over promises that are famous. Because he is close to his famous mining father Steve, there is extra pressure and a legacy for him. The $5.4 million wasn't just a number. It made things right. It was justice done. That proved Mr. Gold was still the man to beat. even with all the chances against him and the doubters. But it also made me think of a bigger question. Is Shawn Pomrenke a genius at finding gold or just a high-stakes player whose luck ran out this time? Whenever there is sea gold to be found, the answer is always somewhere in the middle. Since Dome doesn't give out prizes, it checks you out. It hurts you. It freezes your tools, makes your dives blind and makes you feel hopeless. But you never give up. If you dig deeper, stay longer, and do one more dive, you might just find gold. That's what Shawn Pomrenke's $5.4 million season was really about. There's also the ice, the risk, the grit, and the determination to keep going even when the ocean turns to glass and the darkness below waits to swallow you whole. That was Shawn's amazing $5.4 million haul was either a brilliant idea or a risky bet that paid off. How much does gold really cost? Hit that like button, click subscribe and share your thoughts below.